into a very interesting point. One of the things I know that you do differently than a lot of guys is you go out of your way to train with specialists, whereas most or a lot of MMA guys just train with other MMA guys. Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of training with a wrestling specialist or a jiu-jitsu specialist or a boxing specialist rather than just a generic MMA guy?
Yeah, it's important because you need to step on your ego. You know, how you look in training, it's not how it's going to be in a fight. I care how I look in training. When I train with Gordon and Gordon tapped me out 5 times in a training session, I laughing. But when I go home, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, damn, I'm like, I'm a proud guy. I don't like to lose, and it make me better because I try to think about a way how next time I'm going to get better. But you need to be able to endure these loss to get better in training in order to improve yourself. A lot of guys, they have a big ego and they don't want to get through this. They always want to be the big fish in a small aquarium. I always think to be better, to improve, I need to train with the best guy in jiu-jitsu, the best guy in boxing, the best guy. I spar with world champion in boxing. I had a chance to roll with the best grappler in grappling, and at the same time it keeps me humble, but it improves my skills. So when it's time to mix everything together, now that's my specialty. That's what I do best. And because I've been working with different areas with different experts in their area, when I mix everything together, I'm sharper. My skills are better. So the idea of a martial artist is when he's off season, he's training with different expert in different disciplines. But when he get close to a competition, he mixes it all together, and that's how it is. That's how I view the perfect training for me, and that's how it works for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've heard before you give karate a lot of credit to your ability to take people down in fights. You have that in and out kind of blitzing people. Can you talk about how karate has helped you with wrestling for MMA, just the timing of the shots and how wrestling is different in MMA than it is in freestyle wrestling, for example?
Yeah, in karate too, I had the chance to train with some of the best karate experts in the world, and they are so explosive, coming in and out and covering distance. They're much better than I am in covering distance than I am. I'm good for an MMA guy, but in terms of in and out and being able to control distance, they're so much better. So I learned that from them. The thing is, in MMA, there's no end fighting like in wrestling. In wrestling, it's a lot about positioning and ends fighting that create your opportunity to go for a shot in freestyle wrestling. But you don't have the same setup in mixed martial art. So what I love to do is I love to set it up with my karate styles. I use a lot of the jab. And I've learned that also with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was, he was particularly focusing on his lead hand and lead leg, because it's his, like he said my longest weapon are with my leg, and for a boxer it's the jab, against your nearest point. So that's the idea. I use that decoy to create an opportunity for a shot to get in and cover the distance with a decoy. So I create a distraction, and when the guy is distracted, I get inside and I close the distance, and I love to get in the legs for my takedown. But you could use upper body clinch and different technique from that point.
Nice. An interesting question. If you could take a small child, for example, and train him from a very young age, 5 or 6, to adulthood to be a mixed martial arts champion, how would you do it?
It's a good question. I got a lot of people ask me this. They come with their kids and they're like, hey, this is the new world champion, George. He's 5 years old. Where can you go train? I'm like, first, keep him at school. It's good for for the kid to stay in school, be educated. If he's well educated, he will be able to be better in terms of philosophy, in terms of thinking by himself, to organize his training and to reflect on how he can improve better. So I think education, the brain, is the most important part. Second, if you talk about physicality when you're young, I believe gymnastic is the best sport to start with when you're young. I believe if you start in gymnastic, you will develop your fundamentals, athleticism. The fundamental of your athletics will be developed, and the wider is your base. It's like a pyramid. The wide and the base is the fundamental. The wider is the fundamental, the base. Your pyramid can go higher. You know what I mean? Like if it's narrow, you cannot go that high. But if it's wide, that's how I see it. It's a good analogy. That's how someone very knowledgeable explained it to me in the past, and I think if you start with gymnastic at first, and then you develop your athleticism, then after you can go after to different martial art, whether if it's jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, karate, kung fu, wrestling, it doesn't matter. Everybody has his own study prefer. Everybody is different. For me, it was karate. For Gordon, is jiu-jitsu. For another guy, will be wrestling. There is no best martial art. There is best for you, what suit you best.